Come on. Hello and welcome to this week's Marketing Mix. Today we are going to be talking about professional development, how to improve your skills so that you can run your business better, more efficiently, more skillfully, really, just what you need to be able to be a business owner, and the types of things that will help you to grow your business and run a better business. I'm joined today by Andrew Deighton, who is an expert in all things professional development. He's your guy to go to if you want to know anything about brushing up, not just on your skills, but if you have a team, on your team skills, and if you want to do more around leadership as well. So Andrew's the person that you need to connect with. Before we get going, I'm just going to give you a reminder about the 31st of May. I know there was quite a few people who wanted to watch my interview with Ellie McBride. We had to move it, and it's on the 31st of May. And she's really going to be talking about the challenges that she faced marketing her business and launching it. She actually launched her business quite successfully in Northern Ireland, having moved there from the US. So it's quite an interesting story. So watch out for that on the 31st of May at 2:00. So without further ado, I'm just going to ask Andrew to introduce himself and tell us a bit more about his business.
Okay, thanks, Mia. So thank you for inviting me, first of all. I'm Andrew Deighton. I run AWD Development Solutions, which I've been doing now for just over 2 weeks, over 8 years now. So I set up in April 2014 after I worked at Rolls-Royce for 26 years before that. And then basically my role was made redundant, and I decided if I don't give it a go on my own, I'm going to look back and regret it. It was an opportunity, and I thought if I don't try it, I'll regret not giving it a go. So I set up to focus on the bits of work that I enjoy doing and not the things that I have to do. So it's a training and development consultancy business. I work on helping businesses to develop their organization, their teams, their people, and with a particular focus, as you say, on helping businesses build high-performing teams and developing team leaders and team members.
Amazing. And do you know what? I haven't really seen very many people doing that, particularly for the smaller businesses. So it's definitely worth checking out Andrew's website and put his resources. In fact, I'm just going to pop a link to Andrew's website in the comments, and do go and check that out because there are a ton of resources. And Andrew also has a weekly newsletter, which is really useful. So sign up for that while you're there. So Andrew, why is it important that we keep our skills refreshed? What does it add to our businesses?
I think there's really two main reasons. I think first of all, it's got to be customer based. So it helps you provide a bit. If you're a service business like we are, it helps you provide a better service if you've got a broader range of skills and so on. So I think customer is really the prime reason for a business, but also I think the other reason is really the back office things. You mentioned efficiency earlier on. So it's that how to run your business as effectively and as efficiently as possible, especially now. So I think if you look back over the last couple of years, the different skills that we've all had to use and learn to reduce our cost base, to sort of professionalize our online delivery and things like that. So I think those are the two main reasons: servicing your customers better and then making your business more effective and efficient. And some depends, if you're in more of a professional organization, professional business, you might need it for continuing professional development. There might be a requirement to keep your registration or your certification. So.
Very cool. And I do think, to your point about what we've had to sort of maybe learn and relearn over the last couple of years, has really given us the space to understand what skills, the skills that we need and the ones that really contribute to our businesses, to be able to focus on really making those better. And I know for me, it's really bad. I'm not good with numbers. I'm definitely a words person, but just focusing on really honing in on the financial aspect of my business and learning how to forecast and understanding what money's coming in versus going out, which on a personal budget that's fine, but for business it's just so much, there's more to it because you're actually really looking months ahead in terms of what's coming in versus going out. So it's really important to have skills like that to be more efficient, really, and be more successful. So in terms of perhaps training that people need, how do they decide what they should focus on? Like I've just said that I know financial aspect was kind of a bit of a gap for me, but is there something else, like a framework or something that people can use?
I think first of all, and this counts whether you're a kind of, in a sense, a sole trader, just a one person band, or whether you've got a small team in a small business. But I think the starting point is very much around what's your business purpose, why do you exist, what do you want to do and deliver, and from that, what's the challenges and what are the deliverables that you've got to meet. And so unless you know that, I think you could waste a lot of time and a lot of money developing or training yourself or other people in things that actually are pointless. You don't need them because they're not moving you towards the direction that you want to go in. So I think having that clarity of where you want to go and what service you want to provide is really important. And then focus on what you really, really need to develop, not what you might think you need, but be very clear on what do I really need to be better at or to be even better at. Because I think there's sometimes a danger that we focus on the weaknesses. I'd rather not develop people's weaknesses, because if you're fairly poor at something and I put some development in, I might make you average.
Yeah.
Well, is that a good thing? Whereas if I'm developing things that I'm already good at and I can improve them a bit more, the impact is bigger, if that makes sense. So, and also I'll be more motivated to learn and do better and practice and try. And so it kind of becomes a bit of a virtuous circle, really. So I think focusing on your strengths actually is, so you might think, well, I'm already good at that. Well, help yourself get a bit better. So I think that's one thing. And then think about what's the return on the investment that I'm going to get from a time and cost perspective. And what's the cost if I don't develop it? What's the downside if I don't? And if you struggle with that, then again, why bother? Don't waste that time and that money. And then think about, is it actually more cost effective to outsource it? By the time I've spent developing in this area, do I really want to do it? Would it be better to get someone else to do it for me? In the long run. So there might be that initial worry about the cost, but actually long term it makes far more sense to get the experts in to help with areas that maybe you're actually not that interested in. You just sort of have to do. And then I think finally the other thing is to think what else could I be doing then that would add more value to my business rather than spending time on training and development. So I do think it's really not automatically jumping in, I've got to learn about this. Just taking that step back and thinking about those things before you commit to that time and that money.
And I think, I talk about exactly that for when you decide whether to outsource your marketing services or not. And it really does come back to, do I want to do this? Do I have the skills to do it? Do I have the time and money to learn how to do it?
Yeah.
And it is, what else could I be doing? And I know, even when I set up my business right at the beginning, where I actually had one client before I even had a website. So it gave me, a bit of time to think about various aspects. And I, at that time, I did think, oh, how difficult could it be to set up a website? I'm quite PC literate. I could do that. I could set up a website for myself. I don't need to pay someone to do that. And because I had the luxury of time, I spent 2 days before I realised that actually, no, I didn't have the skills to do this. And this was something that I wanted to pay someone to do for me. So it's really important to recognise that aspect. And we do that for parts of our businesses where it's almost a foregone conclusion. So we will all retain an accountant because of their expertise and to make things like submitting your accounts easier. And you just kind of have to apply that mindset there to what you're talking about in terms of, am I just doing this course for the sake of doing it? And what is it going to add to my business? I think that's something that's it's a thread that runs through a lot of running a business.
I think so.
And I was just going to say that when you talked about understanding your goals for requiring that training, do you think those goals can be wrapped up into the business goals?
Yeah, I think they've got to be. If they're not, if you've not got things lined up, then, as I say, I think you're kind of wasting your time and your money, And then if you start to bring employees in, help them to see why they're doing what you're asking them to do day to day, because it ultimately contributes to this bigger purpose, this bigger challenge or deliverable that we're here to do in the business. So I think that alignment is really important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So just in terms of your business, you've been in business for quite a while. What marketing skills did you have to learn to help you to sort of promote your business?
Everything. Because I came from a corporate role, very internally focused, told what to do, came out, and I basically knew nobody, knew nothing. Knew nothing about running a small business. I had no network externally because all my roles were internally focused, as I say. So it was literally starting from nothing. So I think the key, probably the two key ones that spring to mind. First of all, the avatar, the persona, whatever you sort of the technical term is, who is your target? So for me, primarily it's owners of small businesses, or if they're a bit bigger, it's the HR people. Those are kind of my ideal clients. So that's my target market in a sense in terms of marketing. So excuse me, I had to first of all think about that, and then this whole point about whether you should niche down as well from a perspective, and I'll be honest, I still struggle with that because I can do lots of different things, but my niche is team development. So I've really tried very hard recently to focus on that team side and promote and market that side, because the other things can fall in. Yeah. But having that discipline rather than being too scattergun, I think that those are really two very key messages that I've and also to try things, so you mentioned earlier about newsletter. So I started doing a monthly newsletter, but after I did it for about 10 months and it wasn't really getting much traction, but it was taking a lot of time. So I switched, really following actually some discussions we had about and introducing the email sort of marketing content, constant contact and things like that. And so I now do a very short, focused weekly email. So it's on a very, very tight topic. Yeah. And I'm building up a library of emails that I can use in other ways. Yes. I try to do an accompanying video, which I put on different places as well. And that discipline and that consistency is really paying off now. It's really helping. The number of people you see say, I saw your video on, or I read that, or, and so it's taken me a long time to learn that. But,
and so when you first started, did you know that you had to have like a customer avatar, or is that something that you've found out?
No, I'd never heard of it.
Okay.
I'd never heard of it. And so just through reading, sort of looking at what other people do, I think that's a great way of learning, sort of observing what people who you think are successful marketers in your sort of area, just seeing what they do, and then not copying them, because that's not the right thing to do. It's not authentic, and it's not. It's just it's kind of not the right thing, and it's just do what fits for you then.
Yeah.
But I'm not. No, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. So it's networking, talking to people. It's reading books, reading blogs, watching webinars. But that's the way I've learned it.
Yeah. And did you think that you wanted any kind of formal, like did you do coaching or mentoring? Because that's one way of brushing up your skills, and not only for marketing but for any other aspect of your business.
Absolutely. So the real benefit, the thing that I've been involved in is Mastermind Groups. So it's kind of a group, or a small group of peers in a sense. So small business owners who really work with each other and challenge and coach each other. So it's a small group coaching, really. And I did a year with a bigger group, a bigger mastermind group as well, where we were brought in experts. So we had salespeople, marketing people, lead generation people to sort of put some input in, and then we also did some of our own self-coaching. So it's a bit of a mix of coaching and also that sort of mastermind groups.
And how did you go about finding like a mastermind group? Is that something? Did you know somebody who'd done it before?
Yeah. So it was through a group of. So I'm a member of the Professional Speaking Association, and it was through that kind of a network. Met a guy who ran mastermind groups. Sort of maybe in there was 18 of you, and then you break down into smaller groups.
Okay.
And he launched one. So I really at the start of 2020. So we met face to face twice. And then everything went online. It was supposed to be a face to face once a month, but everything obviously went online. So it was through people I knew, and then from the network I built within that. After that had finished, we set up our own small mastermind group to support each other afterwards.
What do you think you've got out of something like that?
I think it's just a different perspective. So we're all the common thread through all of us is that we do some sort of speaking for a living. So some people are big keynote speakers, and some people are trainers and consultants like I am. Some people run a more educational focus, do schools and things like that. So we've got that common thread of speaking, but we all come at it from a different perspective. We're not competing. So people are very open and throwing ideas in, and I tried this, or I read this the other day, or I listened to this podcast, and so it's very, very much sharing different perspectives and then picking out the bits that will work for you. And so that bit that just won't work for me, I can see that's not going to fit with how I want to deliver, for example, but other aspects will. So it's finding and picking the bits that work.
Amazing. I've never been part of a mastermind group,
it's really
but
you've got to be careful. They don't become talking shops. They've got to be properly facilitated and structured. It's not just a chat. It's supposed to be more challenging and holding people to account. And
I guess you could kind of have that in not such a formal sense, but again, to help with your professional development, that peer-to-peer sort of mentoring, coaching, because I know there are a handful of other marketing type folks that I will call on or will ask their opinion about something, and a couple of them challenge me into doing things that I'm not comfortable doing. But it's sort of having, I guess, when you work on your own, it's having that accountability, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So the other thing that's very useful for me, just briefly, is I have kind of a buddy in a sense, and every Monday morning at 8:00 we have a 10-minute call to say, this is what I'm doing this week, this is what I've got to do, this is what I'm delivering, working on. And then on a Friday, 3:00, we have a slightly longer call, about 15-20 minutes, and say, this is what I've done, this is why I didn't do it, this is what I've learned, and we've done that all through last year and all through this year, and that just literally 10-15 minutes start and end of the week, just one-to-one, and that works really well as well.
I guess that focuses your mind at the beginning of the week.
It does. It helps. Yeah. So I've got it planned out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of do that with myself at the end of the week on a Friday. The last thing I do is go through I'm a pen and paper person. You might think that I'm all online, but I go through my to-do list and then plan out my week.
That's exactly what I do. There's mine. So this is our weekly. This is what we do every week.
Yeah.
So I've got to write it down.
Yeah, me too. I write it down, otherwise it never gets done. So I take that and for my clients and for me, take what's written down and transfer it to my Outlook calendar to make sure that things get done. But and it's a good discipline to have, and even that is a skill in itself, right? Managing your time, because
absolutely.
When I worked for big businesses, yes, of course I had to manage my time, but I only did marketing. I only did one thing.
Yeah.
I didn't do everything.
That's it, exactly.
So it's quite an eye opener when I first started doing this. So in terms of you mentioned masterminds and blogs and webinars. Are there any other avenues that people should explore when they're looking to develop their skills?
Yeah, I think the most effective one is actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So really, there's this thing called the 70-20-10 rule for development. That generally, so 70% of your development interventions should be based on experiences. So how can you build what you want to develop into your day-to-day work? So you're not going out to do it. It's actually adding value. And particularly, just as an example, if you've got someone in your team who you think you want to develop to be a team leader, then give them small team leadership tasks to do, run projects or run tasks. So they're actually doing it. And you're there as a support if needed, but that's far and away the best way of developing something is actually just learning by doing it and having the experience, reflecting on it, learning from it, and particularly if there's a consequence if you don't do it well, you're really focused then if there's going to be a bit of a negative consequence. So that's the best way. Just think of how to build it into your day-to-day job. Day-to-day role. Then there's the 20% around sort of the relationships, so coaching, mentoring, getting feedback, from peers, from colleagues, from reports, from customers, whatever. So using that sort of relationship input to help you develop. And then the sort of almost the least effective 10% in terms of putting things is more formal stuff like courses and workshops and reading and videos. But we sort of flip it around. We always think, I've got to go on a course, I've got to read a book.
Yeah.
Well, actually flip it round, try it, do the experience, then pick up, you can still pick up the theories and learn those as well, but maybe think about it in that slightly different way.
Interesting. So the 70-20-10 rule, which is
so experience first, relationships second, and then more formal.
That's interesting because the other day I found this USB key. It's like, what the hell is on this? I remember this thing, but I have no idea what's on it. And I found all my assignments from when I did my Chartered Institute of Marketing qualifications, and the very beginning, the sort of beginning one, the lowest one that I did, I'd been in my job for a year, and there were a couple of people on my course who had started their job and started the course at the same time. And actually, having worked in marketing for a year made doing that qualification easier because I had something to apply it to.
Yeah,
So it just reminded me.
It is. It's just that it's kind of like an apprenticeship. So my son's doing a business management degree, but he's doing a business management degree apprenticeship. So all his assignments are related to his workplace. Yeah. So he's adding useful stuff to the business he works for, but he can see how to apply it. It's not all theoretical.
Yeah,
so that's great. Yeah,
amazing. And just what are your top 3 tips for people to keep their skills updated?
I think first of all, it's that building it in, as I say, building it into your daily routine, to your daily experiences, your projects, your activities. so that it doesn't. Does this? People say I haven't got time for it. Well, actually, you have if you prioritize it, or if you find creative ways of building it in. So how to build it in to your day-to-day work. If there's something specific that you want to learn or you want to focus on, I think you actually diarize it, put it in as if it was a customer meeting. So we would turn up for a customer meeting. We wouldn't ignore it. Put it in your diary and treat it with the same priority that you would a potential customer project or prospect meeting. So create the space to do it. And then I think the third thing is get a mentor, get a coach, get a mastermind group. So you've got, particularly as you say, for those of us who work on our own, so you've got that support network around you.
For
I think
sure.
those are probably my top three.
I think the diarising it is really important, and I think you have to think of your business as a client as well. To make working on your business a priority, because if you don't do that, then realistically you're not going to achieve the goals that you have for your business. And if you're happy treading water, that's fine. If you're happy with what you've got right now and you don't want more business, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to grow, then you have to put in that effort, and treating your business as if it were a client is a really good way of thinking about it. And that's why everything that I do for me is time blocked out in my calendar to make sure that it gets done. And sometimes I have to move it because a client thing comes in and I'm like, oh, that's paying me. This isn't. But the thing that isn't paying me might eventually turn into something that's paid. So it's just as important.
But you've thought that through. You've had that.
Process. Definitely. And and the thing is that when I started out, I didn't know all these things. And one of the things that I did do was have a session with someone. So my friend Tamsin, we both worked at Constant Contact together. I came from a big business and she came from running her own business.
Right.
And ironically, when we got made redundant, I decided to run my own business and she decided to get another job. But when it came to me setting up, I had a good couple of hours with her going, like, what did you do? How did you? And she said to me, you really need to work in time for working on your business, and you need to work out how many days in the year you want to have off. So you need to work in holidays and potentially some sick days as well. So, absolutely. You don't have 7 hours a day, 5 days a week to work on client stuff. That's not realistic.
No.
So it's definitely worth calling on people who have sort of been there and done that before. And in the small business world, people don't mind helping, do they? They don't mind sharing knowledge.
Exactly.
It's great.
It's finding those support networks, joining the Facebook groups, so you've got that support network and things like that. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Andrew. We didn't get to talk about everything. So Andrew has done an interview for me on my blog, and there are so many great snippets in there. If you want to go and read that, it's really useful. There's more in there about how to approach professional development, and we had time to talk about today. So I'm not very good at typing and talking at the same time. So there's a link to the interview, the written interview that I did with Andrew. It's definitely worth grabbing a cuppa and sitting down and reading it, because he really shares some very lovely nuggets in there about how you should go about approaching professional development, not just for you, but if you have a team as well. He's got some ideas in there for your teams too. So must mention again, in 2 weeks' time, I have got with me Ellie McBride, who's a small business owner, and we're going to talk about her challenges with marketing her business, having just moved to Northern Ireland from the UK. So again, can't talk and type at the same time. So if you would like a reminder, just go to this link, the link that I'm about to post, and hit yes to going. And on the day you'll get a reminder. So that's in 2 weeks' time. It just leaves me to say thank you so much, Andrew, for joining me today. It's been really, really useful, and it's definitely worth prioritising professional development. It's what's going to help you to succeed in business. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mina.
I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, people.